This week, RFK addressed autism, a subject that he clearly is an incredibly educated and expert person to talk about. As someone who has no medical degree and really no scientific training whatsoever.
I'm speaking as someone with experience, as someone on the spectrum
Right.
that understands what the neurotype is like for us and how absolutely fucking amazing we are. I refuse to try to divide us as a community amongst, if you're low support needs, medium support needs, high support needs, without diminishing the impact it has on all of us. But I'm saying, as far as what he's trying to do and institute a registry,
Yeah.
um, on the spectrum, we're all fam. There's no difference between us. Some of us could make the case like it must be nice to wear your disability on the outside, right? And that all that's meant to do is just to divide us, right? No, we are all the same over here. The only difference is some of us are able to articulate, who have been able to mask, who have been able to fit in, kind of at the sacrifice of our own mental health, just to survive as a human on this planet, and particularly in this country where everything is meritocracy,
Mm-hmm.
and you're expected to just be a product of capitalism and you're just labor, right? So we are an inconvenience to people, one, not just because we absorb educational resources too much, but there's also a factor to consider that our pattern recognition, all of the things that we can see in people, that we don't comply, we don't believe in hierarchies, all of these things combined is completely antithetical to an authoritarian regime. So I feel personally they're using the vulnerability of some of these families who have kids with profound autism that need the support. So instead of voting for the presidential candidate that was overly qualified, that would have provided for these things that you need, right? More educational resources, more social resources, things that you need to help, work your way through this world with your profoundly autistic child. They decided to go for the fucking Trojan horse that was going to promise you a cure. We can't be cured. It's not a cure. It's fucking genetic. I will die on this hill. And if you want to be a shitty fucking parent that thinks that your life is so bad because of it, okay, fine. Maybe some of us aren't that easy, but you signed up for this. I don't want to hear your bitching. I don't want to hear your moaning because it is fucking genetic. It has nothing to do with environmental. It has nothing to do with vaccines. Absolutely does not. And I'll tell you what, if you prove me wrong, I will apologize publicly. I will get a bullhorn on a public street corner and apologize to you. But we do not need to be cured. You need to be cured. We need accommodation. You refuse to do it because you lack the capacity to do it, because you all are sheep. And the whole reason they want to eliminate us, neurodivergence, which is not just autism, it is also ADHD. Anyone that has problem reading, right? Because maybe they're dyslexic. It is a big scope of people. And you know what? We clock people. We call bullshit. We don't follow hierarchies. We are a threat to the status quo. And what fascism requires is that people follow the status quo. So they're using these profoundly affected people, adults and children, to get into this space where they're going to put us on a fucking registry. Okay? It has been a challenge, but I would never ever give it up. Right? And I understand I'm not in the same situation as other people, but
Right.
I'm fired up about this because the only people that are going to protect your children when you're willing to sacrifice them off to a fucking camp, because God forbid they ruin your Hallmark moment, are us. It's the adults that do have the ability, that might be low support needs, that might be, ASD level 1 as opposed to 2 or 3. Like, what would, like, they're against abortion, but there's a triple, they specifically designed a prenatal test to find out if your child has Down syndrome so you can decide if you want to, bring them into this world or not.
Mm-hmm.
But all the, abortion, they like, if you could predict a child was going to be on the rainbow spectrum, so to speak, or the neurotypical versus neurodivergent spectrum, I bet they'd be pro-choice then, because that's exactly what they're telling us. We don't care. Put you in a camp. You're inconvenient for me and my perfect life, and you're gonna hide behind this crazy ass administration and this guy who seems to think that like autism is a fate worse than fucking death. Like you'd rather take the chance of them dying from measles than autism. That says a lot more about you than it does our community, and I hope you reflect upon that because you're kind of a piece of shit.
Yeah, the whole
And that's all,
measles
that's
thing
all a
with
lot of
him
us
with
feel.
vaccines is ridiculous. Yeah. that
It's
he's.
awful. There's no proof behind it. If there
No.
was some sort of research, be like, okay, well, I will at least listen. But what you're telling people is we're so inconvenient to you. We cost you extra money to teach us how to add 1 plus 1.
I would like to add to that. I want to talk about and show what RFK actually says about this here in a moment. I do want to say that from my experience, while I only know one child on the autistic spectrum, he's the son of a couple of really close friends of mine. And on the other side of the experience that what you're talking about, I know you clearly have had experience with parents who don't want to be responsible, don't want to take the steps to take care of their autistic children, see them as some kind of a burden. My friends are just the opposite. They embrace their son. They are fantastic with him. They rearrange their whole life around what his needs are, and they do everything they can to help him advance, to help him learn the things that he needs to learn, do the things that he needs to do to really function well. So I do, while there are certainly plenty of examples of people who want to view autism as a disease, like RFK, there are plenty of other people who are view these children and these people as precious and as kindred neighbors, people we should reach out to and are a part of our community without a doubt. That's been my
They're,
experience on that side of things.
they're actually a gift if you know how to receive it.
Hmm.
We tend to make people uncomfortable. We kind of lack some nuance, which means we're very literal. Okay, you
Right.
have to explain to me, tell me point blank what you want, and
Hmm.
only because I have over 4 decades of experience of doing this do I kind of blend in and mask, as they like to call it.
Right.
I have found that the neurotypical experience is actually more detrimental to society than the neurodivergent experience. And I'm not trying to cause division by saying one's more superior than the other. I'm just saying you're not superior to us, and these are the reasons why. And you can accept that. You can be upset by it. You can feel offended by it. But as a typical neurodivergent, I will tell you, as all of you Republicans have told us, fuck your feelings. I
Right.
don't care. You are
Well, I
not going to
mean,
threaten us with encampments and then come back and say, oh my God, my feelings. No, fuck you.
well,
We're not
my
going to
experience
camp.
has been like conservatives. They just think that like anything that isn't homogenous with them and fits with their preconceived idea of normal is just inherently bad.
Yeah.
Like they can't accept that gender is a spectrum. They can't accept that autism or generally brain development is on a spectrum. I mean, a good portion of them can't even fucking believe that or accept that skin color is on a spectrum. You know what I mean?
Oh,
They're against all that stuff. If you're not like me
people are just,
and
it's
I don't
just
understand you, then
adaptive.
I should be afraid of you and you're different and you're bad and you're wrong. You know?
Yeah, like they cannot survive out of a vacuum. And
Mm-hmm.
all this is doing is revealing. And most of these people are like, oh my God, this is so great. We're just looking for, like, and they keep gaslighting us. Like, well, we were just looking for a cause. I'm like, well, then hold up a fucking mirror. It's genetic. Okay. And even
Right.
if there was some environmental causes, maybe I could listen to like what you're researching it. But when the person that you've sent to represent you and speak on this says, hey, you guys are fucking awful for society and you bring no benefit and you'll never pay taxes, which is a very fucking weird lead off for someone that represents a party that hates taxes and
That's
big
a great
government. They
segue.
want us to worry about us paying taxes and putting us on a fucking list.
Let's hear
No,
that
we're
right
not
now.
going to do
Actually,
that.
let's hear RFK talk about that. Yeah, let's react on the other side of this crap.
Instead of listening to to this canard of epidemic denial, all you have to do is start reading a little science, because the answer is very clear, and this is catastrophic for our country. There's a recent study by Blaxel et al. And a team of other researchers that said that the cost of treating autism in this country by 2035, so within 10 years, will be $1 trillion a year. This is added to already astronomical healthcare costs. And then there's an individual injury. These are kids this is a preventable disease. We know it's an environmental exposure.
That's a complete lie. We both know it.
It has to be. Genes do not cause epidemics. They can provide a vulnerability. You need an environmental toxin. And Irva Hertz-Pichoda pointed out that that because of this mythology, that 10 to 20, that the amount of money and resources put into studying genetic causes, which is a dead end, has been historically 10 to 20 times the amount spent by NIH and other agencies to study environmental factors, to study exposures, to study external factors. And
yeah, there's a reason why they haven't spent anywhere near as much money on the external factors, because they've clearly discovered that that's not a significant factor in the cause of autism.
That's where we're going to find the answer. This is an individual tragedy as well. Autism destroys families. More importantly, it destroys our greatest resource, which are our children. These are children who should not be suffering like this. These are kids who, many of them were fully functional and regressed because of some environmental exposure into autism when they're 2 years old. And these are kids who will never pay taxes, they'll never hold a job, they'll never play baseball, they'll never write a poem, they'll never go out on a date. Many of them will never use a toilet unassisted. And we have to recognize we are doing this to our children, and we need to put an end to it. And
I think that's enough of that.
I think it is. I think it is too. Yeah.
So
yeah, because your children will never grow up to serve the fucking god of capitalism in the way that they want it to, with their forced labor and taxpayers and your fucking reproduction. Because the last thing they want right now, if they're talking about putting us in camps, the next thing is sterilization. Because once they figure out it is genetic, that's the next thing they're going to go for.
Right.
But they elected and voted for somebody that decided to strip the DOE, who are the only guarantors of a quality public education for your children, right?
Federal money is what primarily helps special needs kids. It's federal money. Yeah.
Right. They're not, no private school or anything is mandated to provide care for any special education children. Mm-hmm. The only hope you have are public schools. So you, like, when we told you when you voted for Trump and like, yeah, he's going to defund the DOE. And I'm looking at these people, I'm like, you have a child that's a special needs. For whatever reason, they have a para. They're on the spectrum, any sort of thing, any sort of learning disability, and they voted for this person. I'm like, this is like, we've turned into idiocracy. I'm tired of getting shit from people saying all of these bad things about us and our party and our side, and we're the ones looking out for their own children. We're the ones looking out for you before you're pregnant, while you're pregnant, after you're pregnant, making sure your kids are taken care of. And what do we get? A fucking registry? Fuck you people. I hope you get what you vote for, because I'm going to be over here protecting your kids more than you ever did, you piece of shit excuse for a parent. And I feel strongly about that, and I will never apologize.
Absolutely.
If anyone wants to debate me on it, I'm right here.
And so, I mean, I want to address at least, I mean, the lies that he told in that are just so many of them. I've got one expert here, Dr. Peter Hotep. He's actually he's an author, he's a doctor. He is, I'll let them introduce or talk here, but he has a lot of expertise in this. He's going to talk a little bit, because this interview was after RFK's press conference. He's going to talk a little bit about how ridiculous this is. So we'll let him talk, and we'll talk about that afterwards and all the lies that are involved with RFK said.
As I've outlined in the book about my daughter, we have detailed evidence showing there's no vaccine and autism link. And one of the things the anti-vaccine lobby does is they always move the goalposts. As soon as the scientific community debunks one of their assertions, beginning with the MMR vaccine, then they come up with something else. So it was in the late 1990s. There was a false assertion and a fraudulent paper written claiming that the MMR vaccine causes autism. That was shown to be, that paper was retracted, and the scientific community followed with large cohort studies of hundreds or even thousands of kids, showing that kids who get the MMR vaccine are no more likely to get autism than kids who don't. And then a few years later, Mr. Kennedy in 2005 wrote an article in Rolling Stone magazine claiming, okay, if it's not MMR, it must be thimerosal preservative that used to be in vaccines. Similarly debunked with large cohort studies, even non-human primate studies. The scientific community was very vigilant in following up with his assertions. Then he switched it up again, or they switched it up again, saying it's because we're overwhelming the immune system by spacing vaccines too close together. Absolute nonsense. Then it was alum in vaccines So you're always kind of playing this kind of Pyrrhic game of whack-a-mole or moving the goalposts. But the other really important point, and the reason I wrote the book, Amy, was in response to a year of discussions I've had with Mr. Kennedy, going through all of this. We have at least 100 autism genes that have been identified, many here in Boston at the Broad Institute at Harvard, MIT. We did genomic sequencing on Rachel, and my wife Ann and I found Rachel's autism genes, and they all operate in early fetal brain development. Very early on in pregnancy, that's when autism occurs. This is a genetic process, and yet he dismisses all of the massive scientific evidence, the fact that all of this is occurring in pregnancy. And by
what's crazy about this is, and I'm taking it more because I'm not autistic. At least I don't think so. I don't think I fall on the spectrum, but
I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this. There's something a little spectrumy about you, or at least neurodivergent.
Hey, I mean, I'm fine with being neurodivergent. I'm all good with it.
Own.
Well,
I can smell them a mile away and no one ever believes me because they think it's a disability. And I'm like, you're definitely one of us. I'm like, our pattern recognition and our gut feelings are between just being able to read the room and also like having to survive in this world with a version of CPTSD all the time. We clock people like that. Like I can spot, I'm like, oh, he's this, she's that, they're one of us, they're a dick. Like we can.
Well, if I am, I'm proud to be. It's fine with me. It doesn't change anything about how I view myself. That's for sure. But I want to move to something that RFK claims all the time about how the rates of autism are going up, and he cites evidence about how the rates in children are, diagnosis is on the rise, and I mean the diagnosis is really the only thing that is on the rise. I think most people who are watching this know that and actually I'm going to show him talking about this in a minute, but he's going to claim that the diagnosis rate means that more kids are getting autism all the time. So, I mean, you probably have already heard this, but in any case.
One of the things that I think that we need to move away from today is this ideology that the autism diagnosis, that the autism prevalence increases, the relentless increases, are simply artifacts of better diagnoses, better recognition, or changing diagnostic criteria.
So he's full of shit on that. While yes, the diagnosis rate in children has gone up, it's gone up in every single age group. I'm going to show here that it says here, a new study published shows the number of children and adults diagnosed with autism spectrum has increased by 175% in a decade. We started vaccinating for measles in like 1963, I think it is, and we started doing MMRIs in 1971. And while cases are going up in kids, adults are skyrocketing. In fact, the article itself says that it's somewhere in this article that for adults in general, the increase has gone, or in general for the whole population has gone up 175%. For people between 25 and 34, the rate's gone up 450%. I mean, every age group has seen an increase in diagnosis of autism, or
that's
many
what testing will do.
Right.
Yeah. It's just like with COVID. If we stop testing them, we'll stop getting positives and COVID will disappear.
Yeah, it's the I don't want to test them theory. Then there won't be any cases. Yeah. But luckily, our ability to recognize autism and the reason why it's important, obviously, to diagnose autism is so that you know how to treat it. You know how to deal with it. Treat's probably not the right word. You know how to handle education and how to help children get through that so that they can be who they are without being, like you said, having to mask so much, having to adapt as much to society. Society can adapt a little bit to them to give them what they need. And that's why the diagnosis is so important. And in adults as well, who are learning how to maybe figure out why they've had difficulty fitting in with different groups, why they've struggled to show empathy even though they possess it, to understand, to recognize emotions in other people. But also it explains to some people why they're so good at certain things, the things you've mentioned,
Yeah.
being able to just get to the heart of a matter, get it done, hug it out afterwards if there's a conflict, but still get things taken care of. The idea that this is some epidemic that's getting worse is by some sort of environmental stimulus, and obviously RFK, he's made it clear in the past, vaccines are what he thinks is doing this. He's sure
Mhm.
that it's vaccines, and he keeps moving the goalpost on what type of vaccines and what the actual environment, because he's reaching. Because like you were saying earlier, there's so many people like him who want there to be a cure for it. They want it to be a disease because you can cure a disease, instead of it just being where people fall on the natural spectrum of humanity in the way that the brain develops, and us being able to try to incorporate everyone, all the diverse different ways that brains function into a society, and use their strengths and adapt to whatever their weaknesses are. Obviously, people who are neurotypical have plenty of weaknesses, as you highlighted yourself about how emotionally vulnerable they tend to be compared to autistic kids. But there's.
And that's okay. The
Mm-hmm,
thing is, like, we get tired of having people throw things in our face about certain vulnerabilities or like
mm-hmm,
perceived weaknesses,
right.
and then them just actually demonstrate all of this and do it even in a more profound way. Like for me, I'm tired of being nice and trying to cater to your fragility, so
Right.
to speak. And I am not going to be the voice for the entire community. I'm going to be the voice for me. And if people align with that, or they understand it, or they have some critiques, or they want to talk, hell yeah, I'm here. I'm here for all of us. And like all I've said for this past week since you've been talking about this is like, you know, on the spectrum, we all fam. I don't care if you're level one, level two, level three, if you're profoundly or not profoundly. We are all in the same bucket together. They're looking to either get rid of you because you are an expense and an exhaust on our social programs and you don't contribute to society, or you're at the other end where you can clock their bullshit, you don't align with it, you will call them out, you'll be the first person out in the streets protesting them. We will, all of those things. We're all in this together, maybe for different reasons, but they don't want any of us here. Instead of electing people like me or other folk that understand this and making sure that there are systems in place that your child will always be cared for once you pass to give you a peace of mind, we could make that happen. But you don't want that. You don't get to be a victim in this and then also maintain the thought process that is bootstraps only.
Well,
You
yeah,
don't
and the
get it.
bootstrap thing is important because this is all a culture under capitalism issue,
Yeah.
because you're judged only on what your value is as far as how much wealth you can generate for those
Mhm.
that have more wealth than you. Kids who have
Exactly.
autism aren't as aren't as efficient of
Profitable.
producers for the
Yeah.
wealthy as, but they still have a fantastic ability to help society. They are
Hmm.
still value. They should still be valued members. But if
He really
as long
should.
as we're trapped in this culture of capitalism where your whole value is based on how much revenue you can generate, then we're going to continue to view kids who are neurodivergent, period,
Hmm.
autistic, ADHD, whatever else happens, whatever.
Dyslexic. I mean, there's a ton of them. Yeah.
Right. We're gonna continue to knee jerk want to view those kids as somehow broken or failures, or it's a disease that we need to cure, when they're just humanity. They're just humans. The same way
The
that
only
it's an ism. The same way that 200 or 300 years ago, we considered people of color to be lesser versions of human. And now
Mhm.
we've, for the most part, I would like to think, most of us, not all, not everybody, obviously, but for the most part,
Not enough,
we
but
have
we're getting there.
not enough, but we have overcome that viewpoint for the most part. We need to get over that hump whenever it comes to people who are neurodivergent. That we can understand that they are just humans who function differently, but not worse. Because we
Yeah,
need
we're
to
just
change
we're
how what we value.
Yeah, and we benefit society just like we understand that neurotypicals do too,
Right.
right? Like there is a benefit to a certain level of status quo. We exist because when the status quo gets too far out of check and you get people like Donald Trump and RFK Jr. in there, we're the ones sounding the alarms, raising the flags like way ahead of time, right? If you don't know what Cassandra syndrome is, you should look it up.
I
What that
will.
was based on, yeah, what it was based off is Cassandra, someone in in mythos, is she was given the gift of foresight or being psychic, whatever you want to call it. Like she could tell you when things were going to happen, but her curse was that no one believed her. And
Oh yeah,
that's
yeah,
what a
yeah. I
lot of
have heard that legend. Now that you say
Yep,
that, yeah.
that's what a lot of us feel like. We've called this for years. We knew exactly where this path was going, and we were called hysterical. Instead of being appreciated or understood or given a little bit of deference, like, hey, yeah, they're a little quirky, and man, they really like trains, but shit, man, are they good at this group project? Are they good at all of these different things that society needs? No, we are taken for granted to the point that now apparently we need to be institutionalized, or we need to be on a registry, we need to go to wellness camps. All of these things that we're a threat. Like I said, we're a threat to the resources or we're a threat to the status quo. And that's why they want to get rid of all of us. We are a threat.